The James Show Podcast.
With Sydney Sweenie. It's the whole campaign. There's a whole lot of ads here. If you go try and look it up on YouTube, you'll see that there's 6 or 7 different ones. Now, I have naturally seen some of these popping up watching TV or YouTube or whatever the heck I'm watching, Netflix, whatever. And I have seen some of these, but not all of these. Now, I hadn't seen the one that most people are linking to where she talks about genes are passed down from their parents. I hadn't seen that one until I was doing research for this topic for the show this morning. But I have seen some of these other ones. Do you know does everyone know who Sydney Sweenie is? Garrett, you know who Sydney Sweenie is, right? Yeah, not that, though. She's been in a lot of things. She hosted Saturday Night Live once this season. She's in Euphoria and a bunch of other stuff that if you don't recognize it, forget it. But just know that she's beautiful. If you told AI, draw me a beautiful Hollywood starlet, she'd probably draw a Sydney Sweenie. And in fact, it's like there's nothing spectacular about her. There's nothing noticeable. There's nothing that stands out. She's just kind of the epitome of what a beautiful girl looks like. And so when she has an ad campaign, it's going to be hard to not kind of sexy her up. It's going to be hard to, not have it be something that's like enticing and sensual. And guys want to be with her, girls want to be her kind of situation. And that's her brand. And that's fine. Also, they're trying to attach something good to this campaign because this is supposedly for charity. 100% of the purchase price from the Sydney Gene is what it's being called. The Sydney Gene is going to the Crisis Text Line. It's a nonprofit that has a 24/7 mental health support to anyone in need. You just have to text their number. So if you go get this, there's a line of jeans for American Eagle and I'm sure a lot of the flares look like this, but if you get this one specific one on the back pocket, there's a little butterfly that's on the back pocket. That's supposed to be a domestic violence awareness flag. So this has charitable goodwill written all over it. And so a lot of people don't see any problems with the ad. I certainly don't see any problems with the ad. There's been 2 angles of complaints. One, that it's too sexy. This is a charitable cause. Do you have to sexy everything up? Well, if you don't want it to be sexy, then don't add a beautiful young lady, sexy Sydney Sweenie that's just known for being hot. But I'm more concerned about the backlash about how, look, genetics, eugenics right in front of your face. And I've said this on the show many times. If you're new to the show, this is one of the more frustrating parts about this worldview is it happens to make its constituents, its adherents, miserable. Because I see that and I'm like, geez, someone must have missed a couple of buttons on their shirt. That makes me want to buy some jeans. Other people see this and you see Nazis. Your worldview has you so twisted and you think you can live some fire and brimstone hellscape that a beautiful girl with a couple of buttons missing on her shirt wearing jeans becomes Nazis to you, ruins your day. You just see evil everywhere. You've been so trained. Your appetite for observing racism has been whittled to such a sharp, razor-sharp edge that you can hear this, you can see this, and think, Nazis.
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
Sydney Sweenie has for genes.
No! Nazis everywhere. Oh, look out. Here they come. We're going to be in a concentration camp in any second now. They're going to start sending undesirables to the ovens and stop it. See, this is why you're miserable. This is why your anxiety's through the roof. This is why you're on all kinds of prescriptions, meds for your head. This is why they get so angry they have to block the traffic downtown on the weekends. This is why they get so angry they have to go stand in a park holding some foam core sign. I feel strongly about this topic. I'm waving a sign. Won't this change anything? No, it won't. See, this is why I'm happier than you. And I don't mean you. I mean whoever is griping about this ad. The part I find frustrating, and I think you may find frustrating too, is they will see racism there. And they'll write articles about it. And it'll show up. Here's one in USA Today. Here's another one in Salon. There's no shortage of people who are seeing racism in this. But there's a few stories that have been over the weekend and recently that where's your racism radar on this one? Did you see the viral videos that were coming out of Cincinnati this weekend? Did you hear about that? Cincinnati had their jazz festival. And there was a mob of people who, I don't know what provoked them, but there was a group of older white people. And when I say older, I mean they look like they're about 60 or whatever. They're walking down the street. And there's another group of people who are younger and not of the same demographic as them. And they just beat the crap out of him. Knock him to the ground, stomp on him. They punch she looks like she's 60. She may be 55 or just a hard 55. Don't get caught up on the age here. But she gets punched in the face, falls so hard it knocks her completely unconscious. And someone's grandma is just laying in the middle of the street in Cincinnati at night with a crowd around her, just hooting and hollering and having a good time and jumping around and making all kinds of just guttural noises. She's just bleeding out of her mouth. Some old white lady. No one sees racism there. No one cares to even try and insert racism there. Well, what about this other situation where in Traverse City, Michigan, some guy gets all stabby in a Walmart, stabs 11 people, some of them pretty critical. I don't think anyone's died from it yet. But this just happened. This was going viral. When I woke up, this was all over my phone. And a good Samaritan who was concealed carrying a gun pulled it out, pulled it on the guy, stopped him, dropped the knife, dropped the knife, dropped the knife. And you know what? It was a black fella. But we can't report on that, even though you would think that they would be deferential to this race over the knife guy because it's politically correct, but it wouldn't fit the narrative because it makes a gun-wielding American look like the good guy. And it proves that good people carrying guns keep innocent people from getting killed. And so the narrative is so all over the stories where they don't belong and nowhere to be found in the stories where they do belong. Does anybody really believe that American Eagle is a closet eugenicist organization and they decided they were going to spend millions of dollars for this ad campaign for money that they're just going to give to charity anyway in order to make some sort of subliminal play about eugenics? So y'all see racism in there. Y'all want to inject race into this, but not in these other stories. It's an amazing time we live in. Just remember, the same people that are this dishonest about these subjects are going to lie to you about everything. They're going to lie to you about the economics situation that's going on. They're going to lie to you about the tax bill. They're going to lie to you about the big, beautiful bill. They're going to lie to you about everything the man does and says, everything you do and say, and it's making them miserable. All right, thank you, Mr. Jovi. Welcome to Dead or Alive. On Dead or Alive, it's the easier of the game shows on The James Show. I'm going to give you a list of 10 celebrities. You have to tell me if they're dead or alive. Today, on the line, a pair of tickets to see the Lost 80s live tour. They're going to be at the Pavilion at Toyota Music Factory on August 17th, where you can see such great 80s bands as Flock of Seagulls, Big Country, General Public, The Vapors, and more. I've never heard More before. Are they a pretty good band? It must be the opener. They open for a lot of people, I've noticed. It's the old band More. You should start a band and call it More just so it'll be in everyone's flyer. We're going to start with John in Grapevine. Hey, John. John, you with me? Oh, I got to train you.
Hello to Mrs. Parker for me.
Oh, you want to say hi to Miss Parker? All right.
Yeah. Hi, Miss Parker.
You people really get a kick out of that, don't you? All right.
Yeah, we do.
Let's start off with the celebrity list here. I'm not going to give you the category until after the game. I'll give you a chance to guess the category after the game. Number one.
Bonus tickets for that?
Nope. Same amount of tickets. You just get a lot of fame and glory. The first one. His name is Terry Bollea. His stage name is Hulk Hogan. Dead or alive?
He passed. Rest in peace.
Number two. Carl Weathers. He was in Happy Gilmore. He was Apollo and Rocky. Is he dead or alive?
Sadly, he passed also.
Yeah, I just saw Happy Gilmore too. He wasn't in that, but he was referred to in that, and kind of makes you happy. Number three, Gene Hackman. Dead or alive?
Oh, Gene Hackman died at age 95. Sadly, really bizarre situation.
What are you, his biographer? Well done, John. Next one, Chuck Mangione. Dead or alive?
Well, he was in the paper this weekend as he passed. Best trumpeter around.
Ozzy Osbourne. Dead or alive?
Rest in peace, Ozzy.
Jimmy Swaggart. Your favorite pastor, John in Cleveland. Grapevine. I have sinned against you, Lord.
He was 90 years old, but I think he just passed.
You are correct, sir. Pop star from the 60s, Bobby Sherman. Dead or alive?
Oh, unfortunately, he was in the paper the other day. He passed also.
This guy's a walking paper, isn't he? Brian Wilson from the Beach Boys. Dead or alive?
We lost a good one when we lost him.
Sly Stone, the creator of Sly and the Family Stone, dead or alive?
Very recently passed.
And finally, Loretta Swit from MASH, Hot Lips Houlihan from MASH, dead or alive?
They did a tribute to her, so she is gone.
Well, John, flawless victory. You got through all 10 in a row. Did you notice what the category was?
Well, they were all baby boomers for one. They were all entertainers for another. They all died within this year.
That's it. They all died in the last year. You got it. Dang, John, you just can't stop winning. Some people still having a hard time finding a job. Why is that? Sarah Foster from Bankrate's coming back on the James Show. Welcome back, Sarah Foster. And I thought I found this interesting. The unemployment rate for recent college graduates, 6%. It's only 4% for the general population. So am I reading this right? People with college degrees are having a harder time than the rest of us finding the next job?
Great to be here. And yeah, that's exactly what the data is showing us, kind of zeroing in on that new graduate unemployment rate. What's interesting is that it's more than 2 times of that of all college graduates. So, those of us who graduated maybe a few years ago are seeing a much lower unemployment rate right now of 2.7% than those new college graduates are. And even kind of looking at that near 6% unemployment rate for new college graduates, it's the highest in a dozen years, which really shows that this job market is a lot different than the job market that many other college graduates faced a few years ago.
Well, was it worse a dozen years ago for those people?
That was also when we were recovering from the Great Recession, too. So you could say that, when the job market slows, you kind of see it impact these inexperienced younger workers first. And I think it's for a number of reasons. When there is a lot of economic uncertainty, businesses out there might not really want to make investments in those entry-level kind of rank and file employees. They might be still looking for those skilled employees who've demonstrated years of experience in a specific path that, might help them in an initiative. But if they're thinking about expanding, that's when they might not really want to hire a lot of these new college graduates. And I think that's what you could really kind of chalk up this slower job market to today. It is really just a combination of the economic environment we're in right now, but it's also befalling these younger generations probably more than any of these other more advanced employees.
All right, we're talking with Sarah Foster from Bankrate. Sarah, when this comes up, I think me and the callers all agree that your success post-degree really depends on what you got your degree in.
You're right. And I think something that a lot of Americans are starting to question is the value of a college education. And I think economically speaking, many of us in this world still say that having a degree comes with lifetime benefits. Unfortunately, this is just a smaller, kind of a weaker job market than in years past. But hopefully when things kind of bounce back again, that might be when people start to feel better. However, I think there's a lot of other headwinds that we really won't even know in hindsight. We'll only really know in hindsight as far as how much they're impacting the economy. And that big question mark right now is AI. I mean, we have some anecdotal evidence of some big tech companies saying that they're not really hiring as many of those rank and file employees as before, those entry-level college graduates as before. And only time will tell just how much that starts to kind of change kind of the system, the cyclical kind of aspect of this job market.
Well, I hear you on that one. But when I hear about, new technologies coming in like AI, of course, that's going to disrupt some people's jobs. But I think that'll be an overall boon because now small companies can do so much more without having to hire 28 people to handle a whole new department. You don't have to have an art department. You just have to have access to an AI. You can draw me a picture of this, So I think overall that'll be a net positive. But that doesn't really do a whole lot of good for people who just graduated today.
Yeah, it takes a long time for some of these workers to really reskill and find new opportunities that are actually out there in the job market when something is being disrupted so rapidly the way that it currently is thanks to AI. But I think that's really kind of the underarching story here. My best advice for college graduates and even anyone looking out there for a job right now is leverage your own network, really stay versatile, and really try to find these new skills here. I think, what we've learned over the past even 20 years is that instability is actually kind of the norm. And it's really those workers who continue to demonstrate their worth, why they have skills that are sought after, stay adaptable, really try to add value to their companies and to their industry as a whole. They're the ones who are probably going to really make the biggest headway in their job search. And I think that will prove to be true even in an AI-driven world.
Yeah, and if you're looking for stability, another great piece of advice, don't go into radio. It's not renowned for its stability. Sarah Foster from Bankrate, thank you very much for your insights.
Thanks for having me.
All right, coming up next, there's a new ad for American Eagle. They sell jeans and other clothing, but they're just focusing on the jeans for a second. They've got one of the biggest stars 2025 has to offer, Sydney Sweenie. They put out an ad that's being called racist. It's being called Nazi propaganda. How bad is it? If you're not familiar with Sydney Sweenie, just imagine a beautiful 27-year-old blonde girl.
I'm not here to tell you to buy American Eagle jeans. And I definitely won't say that they're the most comfortable jeans I've ever worn. Or that they make your butt look amazing. Why would I need to do that? But if you said that you want to buy the jeans, I'm not going to stop you. But just so we're clear, this is not me telling you to buy American Eagle jeans.
Sydney Sweenie has great jeans.
Okay, did you hear the voiceover guy? Sydney Sweenie has great jeans. Right then, the words pop up. Sydney Sweenie has great jeans on the screen. And it's jeans like Jeans, not Genes. But some people are saying this is an allusion to jeans. It's like, wait a second. If we're talking about how this blue-eyed, blonde hair white girl has fantastic jeans, that sounds like what Nazis would say. And so you're like, oh, well, that's a little bit of a stretch. They're just dancing around it, and they're not saying it outright. Okay, well, here's probably the worst offender here that's going to be highlighted the most in your social media feed over the weekend and today.
Genes are passed down from parents to offspring, often determining traits like hair color, personality, and even eye color. My genes are blue.
Sydney Sweenie has great jeans.
All right. Does that sound like Nazi propaganda to you? Because some people are like, that's eugenics. That's eugenics. They're talking about good genes and undesirables and filtering them out. And she's blue-eyed blonde hair and she's white and she's... Some people are saying, and when I say some people are saying, it's not your blue-haired second cousin on TikTok. How about USA Today? Is that big enough? USA Today from Nicole Fowler, published today, right before the James Show started. Let me read off a nice little passage from this work here. The collection is for a good cause, raises money for domestic violence awareness, yada, yada, yada. 100% of the purchase price goes to some crisis text line. Here it is. But some said it was too sexy for the charitable cause, and a chunk of the backlash also pointed to a more serious undertone. Some said an allusion to great genes, Genes, in an ad featuring a blonde-haired, blue-eyed woman felt like a reference to eugenics, the discredited belief that the human population can be improved through selective breeding. So some people are seeing a Sydney Sweenie ad for jeans, and they see Nazis. And that's not what I saw. The first 28 times I watched it, I'll probably watch about 12 more times on the breaker. Just make sure there's no swastikas or Nazis that pop up. I just see a hot chick selling jeans. Is that eugenics? Am I just being blind because I'm mesmerized by Sydney Sweenie? Am I missing this? Is this really hidden Nazi propaganda in an American Eagle ad? I understand for a lot of people when they're formulating their economic arguments on whether or not they think student loans should be forgiven by the taxpayers of America. I noticed they're heavily influenced by whether or not they owe a lot on their student loans, right? And so I look, a lot of us had student loans. A lot of us have already paid them off. I paid mine off. It took me forever. But to act like we don't understand how they work or we don't understand what you're going through. This is the approach that I find most eye-rolling. Like, it makes me want to roll my eyes so hard I almost sever my optic nerve in the back of my retina. Because it's just so condescending. In this video, it's a two-parter. For the first 10 seconds, it's what people who think we want student loan forgiveness think that we're thinking. And then the next part is what we're really going through. Okay, so in the first part, oh yeah, I don't want to pay my student loan off because I'm lazy. Look, that's not the only thing we think. Some of y'all are lazy. Some of y'all are doing the right thing. Well, in fact, I don't really have a general mindset on what people who don't want to pay off their student loan other than, hey, it sure would be nice if someone else paid this off. No, I understand what's going on. I know how student loans work. So in the after the first 10 seconds when she starts explaining, well, this is what she's going through, she says this like it's some sort of profound discovery. Like, did you know that the earth is round? Did you know that? Did you know that the sun rises in the east and sets in the west? You have no idea what I'm going through, is what it sounds like to me. Because you're just going to nod your head like, yeah. But realize she's saying this thinking. This is some groundbreaking, monumental, epic stuff that's going to change minds. So the first 10 seconds, what people think we're thinking we're going through versus what we're really going through.
Oh, yes, well, I know I said I would pay back those student loans, but I've decided I don't want to. I don't ever want to grow up. I want to stay a child forever.
Now, some people do have arrested development syndrome, but that's really too reductive. It's a little more complex than that. But please, go ahead. Share with the rest of us what we don't understand about your situation, paying off student loans.
Hi, yes. So I have my student loan pulled up here. I've been making the minimum payment on time for 10 years, and I now owe more than I took out. So I was wondering what's that about? The interest accrues faster than you can pay it off? Oh, that's neat. How you guys were able to do that. What is the interest, by the way? I can't see it on this. It's 13%. Okay. That makes sense that it would be that. Hi, I just graduated and I noticed that my student loans are way more than I originally took out. It was accruing interest while I was at school.
Yes.
But it says the principal is more than I took. When I graduated, you combined the accruing interest into the principal. So now I took out $55,000 and it's saying that it accrued $20,000 while I was at school. So now instead of taking the 10% interest off of $55,000, you're taking 10% interest off of $75,000? Wow. All right. Well, thank you. I guess. What was your name? Sorry. One more time. Beelzebub. Okay. Thank you.
Ha ha ha, Beelzebub, get it? Dark and devil. Did you realize that you're accruing more payments while you're in school? The interest is accruing. Do you realize once you take out a loan, interest starts accruing? Wow, really catching these people off guard. Did you realize that if you make a payment that's smaller, that's too small to even cover just the interest on your payments, you're never going to pay down the principal? Huh? Did you? Yeah, we all kind of knew that. See, the problem I would like to for her to understand in the head. I don't need her to, agree with me on all things politically here. But what she's trying to do, and you see it too, you see your kids do it. They're trying to shift the blame because right now, under just normal dialogue between you and me and everyone else on planet Earth, the person who takes out the loan is responsible for knowing how it works. What the interest is, what the payment should be, how it accrues. What would it look like on a certain payment schedule? What would it look like if that payment schedule changed? That's your responsibility. No one is going to feel sorry for you or think it's morally or ethically acceptable if you force other people through government to pay it back on your behalf. That's immoral. That's unjust. That's your loan. That's your college degree. That's your education. Your responsibility. But if she can twist the narrative and say, no, she was tricked and it was those evil bankers. Well, morally speaking, if that's true, then you could make the case that, if she was defrauded by the banks and they didn't explain to her how loans work, or they lied to her how loans work, or they hid from her how loans work, well, then she shouldn't be held responsible for paying that back. She was defrauded. No different than if any other scammer who said he was a Nigerian prince got some money out of you through lies. So then she's not morally responsible for that payback. You would think then shouldn't the banks be? No. For some reason, it's you, the taxpayer. So it's a dastardly little move that they make, but it's a deflection, and I would like to redeflect that back in the right direction, because the one guy that's getting lost here is the college. Because I don't really think the banks defrauded anybody. I'm not even sure if the student is 100% responsible for the payback. If she has any questions about the situation that she got herself into with some false promises or some misunderstanding about how the math was going to work, I wouldn't blame the banks. I would blame your college. Number one, you should be able to graduate college knowing how this stuff works. You should be able to graduate college knowing that if your minimum payment doesn't cover the interest, the principal is going to grow, and in 10 years you're going to owe more. That's their job. You were supposed to get educated from them, but you were also supposed to get an education that makes you enough money in the market to pay off whatever loans you took to get the education. If you have any problem and you feel like you got shorted on any of these situations, it all comes back to one organization, the college. If someone should have to pay back someone's student loans other than the borrower, the defrauding institution would be the college. So either you're dumb and you were defrauded by your college, or you need to just shut up and pay it back your damn self like the rest of us did. But blaming the banks or somehow acting like, well, I guess this is the responsibility of the taxpayers of America now. No, ma'am, that is not going to fly. You just got a bad degree, didn't you? You got a worthless degree, didn't you? I have a nephew who's about to graduate from A&M with a master's in mechanical engineering. He's going to make twice as much money as I make sitting right here. You know what he's going to be able to do? Pay back his student loan without any problems. And remember, when Barack Obama says, we're going to cap your student loan payments so they can only take X amount of money out of your check, he's setting you up to be paying this off forever. If the minimum payment doesn't cover the interest, you shouldn't make the minimum payment. And you should know. You're not a dupe. You're an adult. You're somewhat intelligent enough to get into college. You should be able to know this for yourself. And no, I don't feel sorry for you. And yeah, you should pay it off. And if anybody should get shorted, it should be the college that stuck you with this horrible education and your entirely unmarketable skill set. That's going to do it for the James Show. Coming up next, Mark Levin. I'm James Parker, News Talk 820 and 93.3 FM, WBAP.
The James Show Podcast.